following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you're listening to the 50s, when Bums and Jints walk the streets of New York. My name is Peter Trunk, and my partners, as always, is Ron Rabinovitz and Ralph Typo. Ron, how are you?
Good. How are you, Peter? It's good to have you back.
I'm doing very well. How you feeling, Ron?
Great. I feel wonderful.
And Ralph, how you doing out there in Alameda County?
I'm doing quite well. Everything is hunky-dory, as they say in California. No matter what happens, hunky-dory. Nice funeral. Hunky-dory.
We have a special guest tonight, fellas. A very special guest that I have befriended. He lives here in East Brunswick, New Jersey, where I live, and his name is Murray Trachtenberg. And Murray worked at the Carnegie Deli for 35 years in New York City on 55th Street. He's going to be telling us some stories. I want a nice, warm welcome. Please welcome my buddy, Murray Trachtenberg. Murray, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Murray.
Hi, Murray. Yeah. Welcome.
How you doing?
Here. Glad to have you here.
Right. I'm very happy to be here. It's really
okay. Is this your first internet radio experience, podcast experience, Murray?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope we make you comfortable, and we want to enjoy your stories from of an interesting lifetime that you've had.
Well, Murray, let me start off by asking you an open-ended question, and then you can talk about it if you don't mind.
Okay.
Well, I take it that you were born in New York. Were you born in New York?
In Coney Island.
All right, Coney Island. But you were a Giants fan.
I was born like one block from Seagate. Coney Island goes up to West 37th Street, and that's the end. And in those days, Surf Avenue and Mermaid Avenue, there was a trolley running in between there called Railroad Avenue, and that's where I was born.
Wow.
That's exactly where I was born. That was back in 1937.
Wow.
So,
and you, as I understand it, you told me briefly that you were a New York Giants fan growing up.
Absolutely. My father came over.
Murray.
My father came over to this country in the year 1900 from Russia. Okay, he went to his first baseball game and was watching the New York Highlanders play. Okay, that's the modern day Yankees, and he thought they were the Giants, and he liked them, so he became a Giant fan. I mean, he told me stories. He's seen Christy Mathewson pitch. In those days, the World Series was the best 5 out of 9. And Christy Mathewson went in, pitched the net in the World Series, and he pitched 3 shutouts in the World Series because his earned run average was 0.00.
Wow.
And, my father was in the delicatessen line, but he was a jobber, and we used to go up to the mountains every week, a day and a half to sell our merchandise, smoked fish and delicatessen. So I was brought up in the line. My father used to come back on a Thursday, and I have 2 older brothers, Herb and Ronnie, and my father. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was the polo grounds, and Mondays was Turkish baths, the Silvers in Coney Island. And this is what we did. We used to go to 50 home games a year, and I remember that the rivalry, the Yankee rivalry with the Red Sox is great, but it doesn't compare to the Dodgers and Giants. Because, there was blood in your eye when those 2 teams met.
That's right.
In the Polo Grounds, when the Dodgers came in, usually on the 4th of July, there was always a doubleheader in the Polo Grounds with the Dodgers, and they had to have 50 extra cops in the stands. That's how it was.
Yeah.
The players hated each other, the fans hated each other, and you had a few smatterings of Yankee fans who'd get into the argument, start the fight, and then sit back and watch the Dodgers and Giant fans fight it out. Yeah. We used to sit in the bleachers, and that's where all the fun was. You pay 50 cents and go into the bleachers. That's how it was.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Sure, I remember. I'm going back into the 40s now.
Yeah.
When the Giants had pitchers like Ken Trinkle, Monty Kennedy, Dave Coslow, these are, I don't know if you know those names, but
I know those names. Those last two that you mentioned pitched on
Dave Coslow?
51 Giants.
So Dave Coslow started the first game in the World Series in 51, and he beat the Yankees.
And Kennedy pitched on that 51 team as well.
Yeah, Monty Kennedy.
Monty Kennedy.
Yeah,
now,
Monty
let me
Kennedy.
ask you this, Murray. Well, you were there in the crossover. This was before the three of us were born. We celebrate 1947 as an absolute
Jackie Robinson
change in baseball. How did baseball change in your eyes in 1947 from previous years?
Well, it changed because of Jackie Robinson. And
what change did he evoke in the game as you saw it?
Well, people were more.
Color.
Yeah, well, of course, the color, but people accepted it more. Before that, it was a no-no. I mean, the players just couldn't get into the major leagues. You had great guys like Josh Gibson, but these were great players. Even Satchel Paige was in the black leagues. You couldn't get in there, but Jackie Robinson opened the door, and he had it very, very tough, Robinson, because he couldn't fight back. I mean, he took a tremendous amount of razzing and hazing and from the other teams, the other ball players. It was very, very hard to do
Did
that.
Into the majors evoke conversations about integration, about what's there and what isn't?
It sure was.
In the deli, people talking about this, that, and the other thing?
Right. This is what it was. This was the topic of conversation all the time. And there was, pros and cons about it. But he improved the game. He did improve the game because he was a stepping stone for a lot of great black ball players. Mays, Clemente, Aaron, Frank Robinson, Larry Doby. These are all great players.
I don't know, Murray.
And it made the game better. How much it. What's that?
I wanted to tell you that Ron Rabinovitz here in our booth was a personal friend of Jackie when he was a little boy. And Ron has devoted his life to carrying on the legacy of Jackie. He teaches kids in groups in Minnesota for the Twins. They come
Robinson
in and
was a great football player too.
What was happening?
He was, and basketball.
Yeah, he was a terrific athlete. Obviously, he died very young. He was, I think, 52 when he died.
53.
Oh, 53. He had rampant diabetes, I understand. And,
diabetes, yeah.
Yeah, it was out of control.
Yeah.
This is.
Did he ever come into the Carnegie?
Who, Jackie?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, he was way before. I wouldn't even have been there at the time that he came in very early in the 50s.
I mean, he was around New York a lot, so I was wondering.
Yeah, he was around New York. A lot of sports figures came in, but I never seen Jackie. No.
Okay.
Willie Mays came in.
Oh yeah.
I sat with Willie. We spoke for about 2 hours, and he got up. He says, "You know something, Murray? You know more about me than me." but the National League, when they broke the color line first, that's why they were dominant every year in the All-Star game. The Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Giants in those years, they had an All-Star team. Just those three teams.
Just the three teams.
Frank Robinson, who's a legitimate Hall of Famer, he couldn't even make the starting outfield because the starting outfield for the National League was Mays, Aaron, and Clemente. He had to sit on the bench with Vada Pinson. They were the second team.
Yeah.
No, this is these were great ball players, and
Great ball
they
players.
played for the game, for the love of the game. It was so different. You didn't go stepping out every pitch. They do that
Right.
in those days. You'd have got the next ball in your head from the barber or from all those pitches.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly.
I even remember like the Dodgers came up with remember Joe Black?
Sure.
Pitcher, the lead pitcher. He had a funny habit. He used to warm up from 10 feet behind the mound. Instead of 60 feet, 6 inches, he used to warm up from 70 feet. And he came in and he was fighting with Hoyt Wilhelm at the time. They both came up at the same time. They both were rookies. They both had the same record, 15-3, and they both had the same number 49. Something.
What a memory you have.
And Wilhelm ended up pitching over 1,100 games.
Yes, he did.
Wilhelm had the fastest knuckleball you ever seen.
Yeah.
He was a very fast knuckleball, and because of Wilhelm, Wes Westrom had to design a glove to catch the knuckleball, an oversized glove, and now they use it all the time with a knuckler. But Westrom used to catch him all the time.
Murray, how did Westrom's defense compare to Campy and Yogi?
Westrom was just as good as a defensive player. He wasn't a hitter, but he was a great defensive catcher. Great defensive catcher. As good as anybody I've ever seen.
Underrated in time, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but you know, he was the type of hitter that maybe hit a home run or he'd strike out. You know, but he was a tough guy. He was the leader on the team. Nobody screwed with Westrom. He was a tough son of a gun. You know, I remember an incident with the Giants and the Dodgers. And, you know, Carl Furillo hated DeRocha. He really hated DeRocha. DeRocha hated him. And DeRocha used to razz Furillo every time he came into the batter's box. When Magley was pitching, he'd say to Magley out loud, "Stick it in his ear," and Furillo couldn't take it. So Furillo decided to go after DeRocha one time. He lost it, and he made a very big mistake. He went into the Giant dugout after DeRocha. Right? Wes Westrom grabbed a hold of Furillo and spiked him on his hand, broke his hand, and because of that, Furillo couldn't finish the season, and Furillo ended up as the batting champ. You know, because he couldn't bat anymore. He was leading the league in hitting at the time, and he became the batting champ that year.
We always thought that it was DeRocha that broke Furillo's arm.
No, it was Wes Westrom.
Furillo had DeRocha in a headlock.
Yeah.
And after that, he had his hand stepped on in the dugout when he went down to one knee.
By Wes Westrom.
Right. He broke his pinky. He
spiked him, and that was it because of that.
Yeah. He did win
Furillo hated to play in the Furillo hated to play in the Polo Grounds because all the Giant fans, including me, hated Furillo. And he used to play in right field. He was like number 6. And he used to take tremendous razzing from the fans there. He couldn't stand it. Now, Snyder playing center field, he used to take a lot of razzing, and he used to turn around Snyder and tip his cap. The Giant fans respected Snyder, but they didn't respect Furillo. That's how it was. That's how it was.
Did they respect Jackie?
Who?
Jackie Robinson.
No, they didn't like Robinson either. I suspect that he didn't like Robinson because he was a good player. You know,
yeah, right.
I didn't like Robinson because he wasn't playing for the Giants. You know, maybe they wouldn't admit it, but that's how it was. You know.
I'm going to ask you my last question. You were a Giant fan when Magley went over to the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, right.
What was that like for you as a Giant?
I didn't like it. I'll tell you, I didn't like it. Magley was one of my favorites, him and Larry Jansen and Jim Hearn, you know, and I didn't like it, but I got over it. What could I tell you? It wasn't to my liking, and that's how it was. You know, baseball is a business. You know, I understand that, but as a kid, we're not interested in it being business. We have our likes and dislikes. To us, it's a sport. It's not a business.
Right.
I know they don't understand.
As adults, even I feel the same way as an old kid. I hate the business aspect of it all.
Getting off the subject for a second. Back in '51 when Thompson hit the home run, you know all about that. But on the last day of the season, they were tied. And the last day of the season, the Giants were playing the Boston Braves, and the Dodgers were playing the Philadelphia Phillies. Magley pitched a 2-0 shutout against the Boston Braves, and actually the Giants were half a game ahead of the Dodgers on that last day. And Dodgers were losing 7-2 to the Phillies in the fourth inning, but they tied it up, and in the 14th inning, Jackie Robinson had hit a home run, and that's what threw it into a tie. And then they flipped a coin for 3 games, and in the first game, Thompson hit a home run off to Brankin, and the Giants won the game. And then Labine pitched the second game in the Polo Grounds, and the Giants lost 10-0. And then the third game, they were.
Murray, you have an encyclopedic memory. Do you know?
I remember that thing. I mean, I got the record of the entire game from Monty Irvin, because in those days Chesterfield was the 3-1 club, and they sponsored the Giants, and they made a record of the whole game. And Monty lent me the record, and I taped it, and then I gave it back to him. Sure, I remember. Lockman was on second, and Hartung was on third, and the first pitch was a strike, and then boom, second, and you know what happened.
Yeah, Lockman will be running at the speed of lightning if he hits the ball.
Lockman will be taking the lead, but not too long, but he'll be running like the wind if Thompson hits from. And that's exactly what he said. And then the next day, they started the World Series. The Giants were tied already. That year, the World Series didn't mean nothing. It was anticlimactic. The whole thing was dependent. The Dodgers were 13 and a half games ahead on August the 8th. There was 44 games left in the season. The Giants won 37 out of 44 games. So a lot of people say the Dodgers blew it. But
they lost the telescope in the World Series.
Yeah, well, a lot of people think that the Dodgers blew it, but the Dodgers were playing 570 ball, but the Giants were playing 850 ball. So what could I tell you? This is what it was. That'll never be forgotten. I have a picture here in my room here, a picture of 3 feet by 3 feet of the whole field of the Polo Grounds with the thing, and you press a button, and you hear Russ Hodges announcing the whole game. Everything.
Giants won the pennant. The Giants.
Oh, that's right. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
They are picking Bobby Thompson up and
carrying him off the field. I know.
Oh.
In that catch that Mays made in ¡54 in the series.
Yeah.
The catch. Well, the best part of that catch was the throw, but he turned around and threw that ball to second base. Al Rosen was on first base, and he couldn't even advance to second base because of the throw. Mays threw a strike.
It kept a double play in order, and
it
really set the tone for the entire series.
But you know something? There was another catch that Mays made in the Polo Grounds. Billy Cox was on third base. He wasn't a speed demon, but he had average speed, And he was on third, and the Carl Farillo was up, and he hit a screaming drive to right center field. It landed. It was about 50 feet in front of the bullpen. Now the bullpen in right center field for the Giants was on the field, and it was 455 feet to the base of the wall. Mays caught the ball about 50 feet in front of the bullpen because Don Mueller was slow. He wasn't a fast runner. Mays caught it, backhanded it, and threw a perfect strike into West Western. No bounces. He blew it up 400 feet, and he caught Cox coming into third. And Chuck Dressen said, "I don't believe it. This guy's not human." It was great. He made a catch off Clemente in Pittsburgh in the old Forbes Field. He climbed the light tower because the light tower, the base was on the field actually, and it jutted out. And he climbed up a couple of feet, and he caught the ball. He was amazing, Mays. He had a certain instinct. He had an instinct where he knew the ball was where it was going. Soon as the ball was hit, he knew where it was going. This is how he was. Was he was a real 5-tool player, you know, hitting with power, fielding, running, and throwing. He was amazing, Mace. I don't think you'll ever see another one like him.
If it weren't baseball, what would be your passion if baseball weren't around?
Football.
Well,
Giants.
Okay.
Football Giants.
Okay.
All
yep.
Right.
Football Giants. I've been following the football Giants. We had seasons tickets back in 1942. And watch it. I remember when Frank Gifford came up in '52. He was the highest paid player in the league, getting $12,000 a year. That's what it was.
I think he was a defensive halfback when he first came.
He was also offense and defense. You know, he won offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year too. Both.
Wow.
And
the Golden Boy from USC.
He played a little bit behind Charlie Connerly on the depth
That's
chart.
right, Chuck and Charlie, number 42.
Yes.
That's right.
Right. From
and
Mississippi.
the Giants had some coaches in those days. Vince Lombardi was the offensive line coach. Tom Landry was defensive backfield coach. And the head coach was Jim Lee Howell, you know. But the Giants had Robustelli, Katcavage, Modulewski, Glosey Greer. They had great players. They had great players.
Nothing of Sam Huff and
I know Sam Huff, sure.
Emlyn Tunnell was terrific.
Tunnell. Right. They had great players. They had John Chandler was a great kicker. Summerall was a great kicker. I remember Summerall kicking a field goal 49 yards in the snow in Yankee Stadium to beat the Cleveland Browns 10-6.
I listened to that game on the radio.
You know, yes.
Hello.
I think the Baltimore Colts were the best team, though.
Well, that was a great team. That 58 team with Michi running over for the touchdown. That's what really put the football in the people's eyes. I remember that game very well.
You have a memory. Wow.
Even that game when Gino Marchetti hit Gifford, you know, but it wasn't a dirty hit.
That was actually Chuck Bednarik.
Chuck Bednarik, rather. And it wasn't a dirty hit. Bednarik was not a dirty player. He was a very tough player, but he wasn't a dirty player.
He wasn't celebrating a dirty hit. He was celebrating the play being great.
I know, right. A lot of people think it was a dirty hit, but I don't think so. I don't
Chuck
say
Bednarik was an instructor at my summer camp. He would come up a couple weekends a month. And up in the Poconos, he was a great guy.
I never met him, but I wouldn't doubt it. And he was a clean player. He was a good player. You know, I have nothing against him. And it was just great teams. Football was so different in those days with the head slap and you know. Today they baby the quarterbacks. You look at them wrong and it's a 15-yard penalty. You know, that's how it is. But
what part of New York did you end up living in? You were from Brooklyn. Did you stay there all
I lived on East 29th Street between Neck Road and Avenue V. And on 29th Street, a few doors down, was Joe Torre lived.
Oh, wow. And his brother Frank.
Yeah, right. We used to come home from elementary school, and we'd go home and we'd buy a tennis ball, and we would burn it so we could throw a curveball with it. We used to play stickball in the gutter, but out of bounds. And the manhole cover sewers was home plate, and I was the pitcher, and Torrey was the catcher. And we played, and we all ended up in a place called Brennan & Carr on Avenue U and Ocean Avenue, a hot roast beef stand there. It was great days.
Murray,
it was really great days.
Murray.
Yeah.
Explain to us how you burned the tennis ball and why that made it curve.
Right. Well, it took the fuzz off it, and you were able to dig your fingers into it and throw your curveball. It would break. With a fuzz on it, it wouldn't break. It wouldn't break because of the wind current.
All right.
That's great.
I know we had such great time because in those days nobody went to the mountains. We all played. We all stayed home in the summertime. I had a job working for Gaduma on the beach on Bay 3 in Brighton Beach, selling ice cream, and we'd all so Dodgers, Giants, and Yankee fans, and there was always arguments. Who's this? Who's that? Who's that? And that's how it went on. I was lucky enough because on my block we had about 20, 25 kids, all boys and all in my range, and we were all into sports. It was a big thing. I mean, it was dyed in the wool. This is what we played. We played stickball until my father would come in and pull me in by the hair. It was dark already. That's how it was. And I had two older brothers, and we also all played. My oldest brother was in the Second World War, and he was on the Hornet with Admiral Halsey when they made the Doolittle raid on Tokyo in 1942.
Wow.
And he was a third baseman. He played baseball.
From where the Hornet is parked right now, where it's docked in Alameda, California.
Yeah, I know. Sure, that was in April of '42 with the B-25s off the carrier. I know. And my brother, my oldest brother, Herb.
And we have a Doolittle Drive out here, and
right.
Wow. Wow.
My brother was all Navy third baseman. My brother was all Navy third baseman, and my middle brother Ronnie, who turned out to be a professional wrestler. All right, he was a terrific ball player. He was a catcher. All right, wasn't much of a hitter, but you couldn't get past him. It was like hitting a brick wall. All right, here's a kid that was like 5'8", 255 pounds. With a 55-inch chest and a 36-inch waist, and strong like you wouldn't believe. We used to go to the 92nd.
He was a professional wrestler?
Yeah.
What name did he go?
He went under the name of the Plowboy. And he used to travel around in the circuit with Antonino Rocca and Gene Stanley and the Garibaldis and all those guys.
Sure.
Antonino Rocca. Antonino Rocca used to wrestle barefoot.
I know. I was in my brother's corner down in Anniston, Alabama. Ronnie was wrestling Antonino Rocca, and Rocca was in the corner, and I was holding Rocca's arms, and he turned around and he gave me a shot and knocked me 3 rows into the audience. I'm telling you, it was great. We used to go into New York with my brother. We went to 92nd Street Y, the big Y up there. You know where that is, right?
Y. We went there all the time.
Right. So I was here with my brother. You ever hear a guy named Dan Laurie? You know who Dan Laurie is? He was making the barbells and everything. He made the weights. All right?
Oh, okay.
York barbells and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, my brother was working out there. And he was working with an 11-foot bar because he was doing squats. He used to do squats with 1,140 pounds, my brother. Okay? And Dan Laurie came over to me. He says, Ronnie's your brother? I says, yeah. He says, I've been all over the world. He says, pound for pound, your brother is the strongest human being I've ever seen. Now, my brother used to go on TV once in a while to do power demonstrations. There was a TV show years ago called At the Alan Burke Show, okay? And Ronnie went on there, and they brought over a railroad ties. Those big railroad ties from the trains, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie just put a towel over his head, and they took the railroad spike, and he hammered the thing in with his hand. Ronnie was unbelievable. Tremendous power. That's how it would.
Wow.
I was very close with Ronnie more than Herbie because Herbie was 11 years older than me, but me and Ronnie were closer in age, and that's how it was. It was great. And now Ronnie's living down now he's in Florida, down in there near Disney World. And he's okay. He's 86 years old now, and
good for him.
Like I said, I'm 81. He's 86. And that's
That's great. That's great.
I remember one day in the Carnegie, these three guys walked in, and I knew who they were right away. I didn't say a word. And they sat down. I don't know if you've ever been in the Carnegie Deli, but we had tables, not individual tables like in a line, okay? And these three guys sat down having breakfast, and they're talking. And I went over to one of my managers, and I said, listen to me. We're going to sit down over here. Whatever I tell you, just agree with me. Just say, yeah, okay. So we sat down, and we started talking, and we got on the subject of football. And I was talking with him, and I said, remember the 61, 62, and 63 Giants? What teams they were? Too bad we didn't have a quarterback. And he turned me around, and I said, what's the matter, Yelverton? You think I don't know who you are? Number 14, Y.A. Tittle?
Yeah.
I knew who it was. Yeah, and, a lot of times the Giants would come in on Wednesdays in the season. I'd have lunch with them. I remember a guy, Jim Burt. He was a nose tackle for the Giants in the 80s.
I do remember.
He graduated from the University of Miami. That's where I graduated from. And he used to come in, and he'd order a Reuben. He'd eat 2 Reubens. Now, our Reubens weigh 2.5 pounds. He'd eat 2 of them. Okay? I played some football in Miami, too. I didn't have the kind of talent to make it to the NFL, but one of the guys on our team was the center at the time, Jim Otto. And Jim Otto was, double O. He played for the Oakland Raiders. He made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Jim Otto, God bless him, has had an incredible
38 operations or something like that. I know. Right. I know. I'll tell you another story. When Clinton ran for president in the Democratic convention was held in New York. I think there was maybe 92 or something. I'm not sure. We went and they came in by us, one of the delegates from the Democratic convention, the party, and he said, Murray, we want to bring some people in tonight to have some food. I said, oh, right. How many people are you expecting? He says, well, about 80, 85 people. We want to come in about 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, okay, no problem, right? So I had my people there, and I had hostesses. 1 o'clock came, I don't see nobody. 1:30 came, I didn't see nobody. About 1:45, they start coming in. Now, meanwhile, I had sent my hostesses home. It was 1:45 already. They had to leave. And you know how many people showed up instead of 80, 85 people? Over 800 people showed up, okay? We had a line down to 53rd Street because the Democratic Convention was picking up the tab. So they all came in. It was like freebies. Luckily, I had Jerry Lewis sitting there at the time and Jackie Mason and Mr. T. I went over to these guys. I explained to them the situation. I need somebody to help me out. I gave them the menus, and they were seating the people all night. And we never closed. We stayed open. The bill came to like $350,000, but that's chump change for the Democratic Party. What does it mean? That's how it was.
May I ask you this? You had food in store, in lockers? Is that...
Well, you got to remember the New York stores. All the stores have basements the size of the store. Okay, downstairs, you can't run. When you're serving breakfast, I'm preparing lunch. We have to be 4 or 5 hours ahead of the people. You can't start preparing food. We had everything ready downstairs because we had our smoke ovens. We had everything. I used to go through 10 tons of corned beef a week.
Number of people and 10 times more people show up.
What's that?
You automatically have that much food down there in reserve?
Oh, yeah. You got to understand, we weren't the normal kind of delicatessen. We were the only delicatessen in New York that made all our own smoke. We pickled and cured and smoked all our own stuff. We had a facility down on Avenue A and 3rd Street, a big 3-floor building with smoke ovens, because you're not allowed to have smoke ovens on the premises where you're serving people food. So you have to have separate. Those smoke ovens are like 10 feet by 12 feet. All right? And as a matter of fact, they were built in Minnesota. We ordered it from Minnesota. We had three big smoke ovens. I used to smoke off maybe 25, 30, 40,000 pastrami's at one time. And these things take long to make. You got to pickle them for 13 days. And then after you pickle them, you got to pepper them and spice them, and then you got to smoke them for 12 hours. It's like, it goes in on racks overhead, and underneath the flames are fed by sawdust, and that's how you make it. On a good week between corned beef and pastrami, we go through 15 tons of meat. Okay?
Oh, in a week.
Murray, can you explain? I'm an unobservant Yid. Can you explain the difference between kosher style and actual kosher?
Well, kosher style, the corned beef and pastrami is actually kosher, but it can't be considered all kosher because you're carrying dairy in the restaurant. You're carrying every item. We had 440 items on the menu. In New York, you got to have everything. So because we had those dairy, it made a trefa. You have the melech, the meat, and you had the dairy. There's two different things. It doesn't clash. That's why it's considered kosher style.
Kosher style.
Right. Yeah. See, there is such a thing as kosher delis, and then there's glatt kosher. There's two different things. I don't know if are you familiar with Brooklyn at all?
Peter,
you ever hear of a delicatessen called Grabstein's?
No.
How about Lou G. Siegel's on 38th Street and 7th Avenue?
No,
that was a glatt kosher place. That was glatt kosher. We used to close up at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and open up on Sunday. You close Friday night and all day Saturday. That's considered glatt kosher. Then Then you got kosher delis where they're open every day, but all the meats are kosher. And they don't carry any dairy, only meat.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
You can't have dairy with meat. That's against the kosher laws.
Right.
And then with the delicatessen, you got to know how to prepare your meat. All your meats, all the delicatessen meats, they all have a grain on it. All right. There's a grain, just like wood has a grain, right? It has to have a grain. And you got to know how to do it, how to cut it, and know what to do with it. All your deli meats,
the grain, right? Against the grain.
Well, across the grain. All your deli meats, have what they call moisture cells in it. Okay. Because of the moisture cells, you got to know what to do. All your deli meat should be cut thin. It shouldn't be cut thick. The only meat that should be cut thick is a steak. But the thinner you cut it, the better it is. And that it becomes juicy, and you shouldn't have to fight the meat in your mouth. It should melt in your mouth. So you got to know how to prepare it, how to steam it. Even you got to know how to put a corned beef into the steam tables. These steam tables are perforated with holes on the bottom with water and a flame underneath it. And when you put the corned beef in, you can't put it in against the iron bottom of the thing because you burn the corned beef. So what I used to do was take sandwich plates and invert them and stick them in the bottom and put the corned beef on top of that. So you'd never burn the corned beef. And you'd always lay the corned beef not flat but opposite. Turn it over corned beef has a what they call a top decal. You know what that means?
No.
You have the first cut of the corned beef, which is extra lean, and then you got the top decal. And you lay it on the top decal because the top decal is all fat, so you can't harm the meat. You understand? Mm-hmm. But when you take the corned beef out to serve it to people, what I used to do is I used to split the corned beef from the top part to the bottom part because the grain used to run in two different ways. And then I'd put it on the machine. And if you take any kind of deli meat, doesn't matter what it is, as long as you put it at a right angle to the machine, you can't go wrong. That's how it is. Wow. I used to try to tell the people, like we had a delicatessen that we opened up in where the Pentagon is in Virginia, and I went over there. There's a delicate there, and they had this very fancy chef over there, really nasty guy too. But I got along with him, and I was trying to tell him. He says, "Listen to me." He says, I know I'm a top-rated chef. I know what I'm doing. I said, you do? I said, go. Here's the corned beef. Start it for me. I said, well, start it. Go ahead. You tell me you know everything. He didn't know nothing. I said, I told him. I said, you may know how to do your chef work. I said, when it comes to delicatessen, you don't know shit. That's my view. You know, it's not like cutting a piece of salami. Every corned beef is, you know, the corned beef is like, it's like a woman. It's all different. There's all difference. It's very hard to explain when I tell you there's lefts and there's rights. You have to see it, and I would explain it to you as I do it. You understand? We used to do all these things. Taking the cock turkey apart.
Did the gangsters come in too?
What's that?
Did the gangsters come in too, you said?
Oh yeah, I used to have Johnny Dio used to come in. And he always came in, took care of me. He was a collector, you know, for the bond. Yeah. Always gave me $100 tip. Always. He gave me $100 tip. What's his name? Irving Caesar, Irving Caesar came in. This man was over 100 years older at the time. He collaborated with George Gershwin. Gershwin wrote Swanee, and he wrote the words to Swanee. And then they sent it over to Al Jolson in the Winter Garden in 1921, and the rest is history. Wow. The rest is history. Sure.
Mary, story about
theaters where Barbara Streisand started.
She used to come in. She used to come in with her own limousine, and she had a built-in bathroom in the limousine because she wouldn't use a public bathroom. That's how it was, and nobody was allowed to sit within the table's length of her. That's how it is. My wife went to school with Barbara Streisand.
She carried this little puppy. This little poodle all the time.
She had it cloned. Yeah.
Erasmus High School in Brooklyn, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Erasmus Hall High School. My wife went to school with her. Yeah, sure.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Whoa.
Sure, she
I wonder if
Barbara Streisand graduated.
My cousins went to Erasmus, the Nisnowitzes. I wonder if you knew them.
Well, I went to James Madison.
I
went to Madison.
Okay.
I went to Madison. And my wife went to Erasmus, you know.
May I ask you what you do in retirement? It seems to me like you worked 15, 16 hours a day all your life.
I liked what I was doing. I used to work 80, 90 hours a week.
I know.
Well, listen, I go to
retirement.
I'm not bored. I'll tell you why. Look, I go to the 55 and over. I go to Regency. I go to Stonebridge. I'm there 3 times a week with 14 other guys. We play pinochle. We start at 9 in the morning. We play till 6 in the evening. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, I'm not bored. I do a lot of swimming. You know, I have a pool. I do a lot of swimming because I was always a water nut since my days in the Navy. When I used to be on a Navy swimming team and do the butterfly stroke many years ago.
Did you swim at the St. George Hotel in Brooklyn?
Yes, I did. I absolutely
did. So did I. Saltwater, indoor saltwater pool.
We used to do a lot of swimming. We used to. Are you familiar with Brighton Beach at all?
Very much so, yes.
Okay, so I'll tell you, I used to go with a friend of mine, Irwin. We used to go on Bay 1, okay? And we go from Bay 1, we'd swim all the way to the Reese Park Bridge and back, which was about 7-8 miles, whatever. And, you know, I could live in the water. Sometimes I want to go underwater. I don't even want to come up. I like it that much. And I was into walking a lot, too. I did a lot of walking. Used to get up very early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, go down to Manasquan, park the car, and walk the boardwalks there, because I like the boardwalks. They're made out of that Trex, you know, it's not wood. And I've walked from Manasquan to Asbury Park and back, 4.5 hours is 22 miles. And I do it a couple of times a week.
Did you ever spend time on the Rockaway boardwalks?
Yeah, I've been there. Okay, I used to like to go to Jones Beach, too. Jones Beach I like.
Great tennis.
That's where we went. That's where my family went.
Right.
Murray, I got to ask you a question. Murray. The Carnegie Deli is no more. The Carnegie Deli is now gone. Where can I get a
opened up in 1937.
Sandwich? Where can I get a good deli sandwich in New York? Tell me.
Maybe 2nd Avenue Deli.
Which is now on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, right.
How about Katz's?
Well, catches, when it comes to meat, you got what they call prime, you got choice, and then you got the lowest grade is called good. They use the good, okay?
They do?
They oversteam all their products, so it's falling apart, so you think it's really good, but it's not really quality food. It's really not.
They've been there since
People don't know.
1888. They've been there since 1888.
That's exactly what I would have expected you to say about your biggest rival.
No, they weren't a rival to us. They were too far away. We didn't have any rival. We had the stage one door down from us. Stage.
The stage.
Yes.
That was a very good deli. Very good day because it was very well run by Max Asness. They both opened up at the same time. And they were related. The owners were related, but they didn't talk to each other because they hated each other. Sure. And then there was another really good deli, the 6th Avenue Deli, which was more busier than the Carnegie at the time and everything. But the guy raised his rent. He doubled his rent. He said, "Screw you," and he closed the store. He said, "I got plenty of money," and he didn't want to go anymore. And you had the Wolf stores, but I don't know how good it is today. Wolf, there's a number of them. Down in Bowling Green, and then in off Broadway and Maiden Lane and 57th Street. You got whatever. But
you still eat deli, Murray?
I love it.
Still eat
I love
deli?
it.
Where do you get it here in East Brunswick? Where do you get it?
I go to Restaurant Depot.
Where's that?
I remember Restaurant Depot. They got outlets all over the place, but you got to be in the line, and you got to have a special card. They issue a card to you, and I buy the raw product, and then I make it at home myself. When I want to delicatessen, I make it.
Do you still make it at home?
Oh, I have to get my pastrami from you?
I have all the equipment. I have my machines. I have everything. But I got a friend of mine who worked with me in the Carnegie. You ever hear of Harold's?
Sure.
You know Harold's in Raritan Center. Well, Harold worked with me, and he worked with me for 5 years in the Carnegie. Then he went on his own. It was when he opened up.
Harold,
when he opened up. He called me, and I stayed with him for the first 6 months to help him out. Sure, and Harold Jaffe, I know that. It's a lost art. It's a lost art. When I joined the union, to work in New York at the time, you had to be in a delicatessen union. You just couldn't work in a deli. You had to belong to the union. It was 2,200 members. And 2,190 were Jewish. And in those days, if you wanted to work in the delicatessen, many, many years ago, you had to make what they call mustard tubes. It was brown waxed paper, and you made a funnel out of it, and you filled it with mustard. And if you couldn't make it, you couldn't get a job. That's how it was. That's exactly how it was.
That was the one skill they tested for.
Yeah, right. You had over 20 provision dealers in Brooklyn and New York. Now forget about it. Nothing. Everything is Hebrew National. It's they had good delicatessen and high grade who used to serve Nathan's in Coney Island. Now high grade was a kosher style. It wasn't a kosher hot dog, but it was the best hot dog ever made. And they had high grade, and they had a kosher factory called Hard Carmel. That was their kosher product. But their standing order for Nathan's was 20,000 pounds of griddles a week. Griddles is the narrow hot dog. They call it griddles. In the line we call it griddles.
What's a good hot dog today, Murray, to buy? Best hot dog to buy?
Well, I'll tell you, Boar's Head makes an all-beef hot dog with a natural casing, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Savret's not bad either. Savret is good if you get the natural casing.
Okay.
Because skinless hot dogs and the casing hot dogs are two different products. That's why if you go into the supermarket, look at the price on the skinless and look at the price on the natural casing. Natural casing is twice as much. Why? There's a reason. Sure. Just like with salamis. Sometimes they run a sale on salamis. It's always the small salamis. It's never the big salami because the small salami is not the same meat. It's all the leftovers made at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When they're getting ready to close, the leftovers goes in for the little salamis. The big salamis, it's a different story. Sure, it's a different story.
How about Hebrew National hot dogs? How about Hebrew National hot dogs?
Good. Hebrew National. Yeah. They also make skinless and they make the casing. You know.
Yeah.
I prefer the casing. You know, that's
what I have found to be true when I go to get hot dogs, and I used to get sabrets with the skin, is you can't get them in packages of 8 with the skin as easily. You have to buy like the big package of like it's got 36 hot dogs in it, and that's the one with the casing. So you got to buy them like that.
You can get that at the BJ's has that. BJ's comes in like that. It comes in like 3.5 pounds of it.
Yeah. What I used to do, I'd come home, I'd open them up, and I'd wrap them up like four each in foil, put them in my freezer.
And we used to use the mustard that I used in the Carnegie was the best. But see, you don't see it's not in any stores or anything. You got to get it in Restaurant Depot called Dusseldorf mustard. It's a German mustard, and that's the real deli mustard. That was really good. I remember on good days we'd go through like 15 turkeys a day, 40 pounders, and I used to take the turkeys apart. I could take the turkey apart with my 2 thumbs, take it apart in maybe 55, 60 seconds. The whole thing is gone. All the thing. All you got to know is the anatomy of the bird. You know where the pressure points are. So you don't need a knife.
Bones and how to break the bones, right?
Well, yeah, that's no problem. And we save the bones and we use it for stock, for soup. You know, just
how much Dr. Brown's did you go through?
Oh boy, forget about it. Soda, the celery soda, a lot.
Celery is my favorite, but it's hard to find. Celery is very hard to find. Celery, very hard to find. I can get the cream, which I have in my refrigerator right now. Dr. Brown's cream, that's easy to get.
Certain
black cherry is easy to get too.
Right.
Celery is in California. It's a treat when we get Dr. Brown's in California.
Yeah,
every week.
I remember
things that I miss about New York.
We opened up a Carnegie in Beverly Hills. Okay. We opened up a Carnegie in Beverly Hills. I remember they wanted me to go out there to work, but they didn't want to pay my salary what I wanted to have. You know, I said I'm not going to move out there. I'm going to uproot my whole family. You got to make it worth my while. That's it. So I gave them a figure, and they said they can't handle that. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go out there. I'll work for you for nothing, and at the end of the year, you don't want me, you're okay. But if you do, I want what I quoted you. This is what I want to get paid. You know, they didn't want to go for it. So I went out there one time when I was out in Beverly Hills because at the time it was 1994, and I did a party for Michael Jackson. He came into the Carnegie, and it was Super Bowl time, and he said, Murray, you know, we want to do a party, but we want to do it only for the VIPs in the Rose Bowl. That's where where they were playing.
Sure.
I said, all right, not a problem. And I froze up like 1,000 pounds of corned beef and pastrami, and I sent it out on a flash freezer. Set it out FedEx because it's a perishable item, you know, so they get it the next morning. He flew me out on his private plane, and I set up a corporate tent out there, and it was all the VIPs came in, and I served corned beef. They had all different kinds of food, but nobody had corned beef and pastrami. That's what I served, and it was a tremendous hit. And I met a lot of everybody in the movie industry, you know, and I have a big scrapbook about it. And Michael Jackson made me up a jacket, a special jacket with his autograph on it with the Super Bowl, and it's a one of a kind. you know.
That's terrific.
And they paid me handsomely, and I had a lot of fun. That's terrific. I remember it was the Dallas Cowboys playing the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I still have you going on this. What kind of rye bread's the best rye bread?
Certified. I used to get it in Harrison, Jersey. Certified.
Where can I buy it today? I can't buy it today?
I guess you can if you go there. I'm not sure. If they only search. See, we use two different kinds of rye bread.
Okay.
I use Peck the Fields. Okay.
Yep.
That's a good rye bread. But now the certified was a bread that had what they call Kimmel on it. I don't know if you know what Kimmel is. It's a black seed. It's Hungarian. Yeah. It's called Charnitschka. It's a black seed, and their bread had no preservative in it. Okay, so you could only use it in a place where the turnover was very fast. Of course, the bread would get stale because they tell you that the preservative doesn't change the taste. That's bullshit. It does.
It does.
Right. Right. Now, I used to use 300 breads a day. Each bread is 3-pound bread. Okay, and I'd go through 70, 80 pounds of bread in a lunchtime. No big deal with that black seeded bread. It was a great bread. What a good taste it was. Because you could have the best meat in the world. If you don't have the good bread, you forget about it. It's no good.
Yeah, right.
You got to have everything right, and you got to know what you're doing, and you got to know how to steam the meat. It's a real art. It's art.
Hey, right. Murray, can you send me out about 10 pounds of corned beef out to Minneapolis? I'm getting hungry listening to all of this.
Oh, and I never lost my taste for it. I love the stuff. I love pastrami,
Murray, another question before we have to go. Before we have to go. There was a lot of show when the Carnegie closed.
Yeah.
Every channel had a story about it. Every newspaper, every radio show. It was all over the internet and stuff. Carnegie is closing. There comes up a guy who claims that he offered $10 million to buy the Carnegie.
That's true.
Turned down.
That's right. That's true.
Story?
Yeah, true. True story.
Wow.
She didn't want to sell. She didn't want to sell. I don't know. And I don't know. I think she still owns the building there too. There's a 4th floor walk up. I know because I had to collect the rents there. They owned it. He didn't always own the building.
Okay.
But he didn't always own the building. But I used to say Milton Park was the boss there, the owner. And I'd say, Milton, why don't you buy the building? You have to pay rent and everything. He says, don't worry, they want $1,700,000 for the building. I says, hey, take it out of petty cash. What are you worried about? and he bought the building, and that's how it was. This is a lot of times. I didn't punch a clock. Being general manager, I was there whenever I had to be there. Sometimes I'd work a 40-hour week. Sometimes whatever it took. You understand? And I walked in there, and it was about 5:15. Usually I used to start at 6 in the morning. 5:15, and Milton was there, and he said, Murray, what are you doing here? I said, well, what are you doing here? He says, well, I own the place. I want to be here. I said, well, I want to be here too. So, I was an employee, but I didn't feel like an employee, I didn't, because I did the hiring, the firing, the cost analysis. I used to run a running inventory every day. I always had 3 or 4 different purveyors because prices changed every day, and I used to charge one after the other, and so I get the stuff. And I used to get deliveries 3 times a day. Even the garbage guys, the garbage guys used to come twice a day. If you want to buy a store, a real key to how to buy the store, you just go and look in their garbage, see how much garbage they got. Then you know if they're doing business. That's what it is.
Wow. Now wait a minute. If Milton bought the building and he owned the building, why the hell did he close?
He died.
Okay,
he was dead.
Why did the
wife is dead too? They left it to the daughter.
Okay.
They left it to the daughter, and
but since
forget
the
about
daughter
it.
didn't have to. Well, hold it. Tell me where I'm off base here.
Go ahead.
Tell me where I'm off base. The guy dies, the woman dies, the daughter inherits the place. The place is going gangbusters for the last 50 years. It's making money hand over fist. They own the building. She doesn't really have to do anything because you're running the place, or people like you are running the place. All she has to do is just sit back and collect the money every week.
Well, look, I'll tell you what.
Why did she leave?
I'll tell you what. Look, she met a guy. You know, she met a guy, and it didn't work out good. And the guy was really he was really that good. This guy. I don't even want to get into it, but what he did, he ruined her. He ruined her, and then she got out. It was, I don't even want to elaborate on it anymore because it's a damn shame that the place closed altogether. You know?
It is a shame. It is a shame.
I know. That's what it is. Look, I'm going to tell you.
Murray, you're a treasure. I'll tell you. Would you come back and join us again sometime?
Sure. This was great, Murray. It was fun.
I remember one time Billy Martin came in. He came in with Mantle. He came in with Maris. He came in with Hank Bauer. Okay?
Yep.
And a few other guys, and they all sat down to eat, everything like that. And then he finally got up after a while, and he went to pay. I said, "No, Billy, your money's no good here." He says, "Murray," he says, "I can pay." I says, "Billy," I says, "your money is no good here. Do me a favor." He says, "What?" I says, "Just win, okay? Win. I don't need your money, okay? I got plenty of money too. I don't need your money. Enjoy yourself." Just thanks a lot. Yeah. He was a real gentleman to me, and I liked him very much. I liked Billy.
You used to make sandwiches with celebrities' names on them.
Yeah,
ball players.
Right. We must have 1,000 pictures hanging up there. You know, we used to use a pound of meat on the sandwich. Okay.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
We charged, but we gave. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to know how to give. You got to know how to give. I never had a guy walk out really dissatisfied. I made sure that this guy would come back. I'd make it up to whatever it was.
How about your cheesecake?
Oh. Cheesecake? I made cheesecake. I used to use 4 pounds of cream cheese for one cake. All right? Our cakes weighed 13 pounds, and 30 people could eat from it. We get $90 for a cheesecake, but it went a long way because it's very, very rich.
Oh,
so, and everything we made. The rugelach, I don't know if you know what rugelach is.
I know.
Sure I do.
Okay, all right. We made the best rugelach in the world. And the macaroons, you know, Passover, we had matzah on the tables and all that kind of stuff, you know, even though we weren't considered kosher. But, you know, I had 440 items on the menu, okay? That's how much stuff we had to carry. You know, I used to use, like, when I took over as general manager, they were buying frozen potatoes, you know, French fries. I got rid of that. We were going through about maybe 700 pounds a week of French fries, okay? And I took over, and I got a machine out in Philadelphia from these people serve Nathan's in Coney Island. The special machine, the crinkle cuts the machine. It crinkle cuts the potato without you even peeling it. It peels it and crinkle cuts it at the time. And I increased it from 700 pounds to 10,000 pounds a week. Potatoes.
Wow.
Right? Wow. And I know the formula that Nathan's used to do because we used to take the potatoes and blanch them in water. You know, boil it for about 14 minutes and then put it in a bus box. You know what a bus box is?
No.
You know, where bus boys take the dirty dishes and throw it in the pan, whatever.
Yeah.
I would take them and put them in bus boxes with cold water because once you cover the potatoes with water, it doesn't turn black. You know, if you don't do that, the potatoes turn black.
Right.
And I'd have it all ready to go, and then when we come up, we'd have 8 French fries, and I'd make the French fries. It would make it no time at all because people had it in and out. When the average guy, when he came in for lunchtime, he was served within 6 minutes. Okay.
Oh.
And they were in a hurry, in and out. The turnover was tremendous. At night, at dinner, they sat more. That was no problem. But breakfast and lunch, I used to go through 1,000 dozen eggs a week. Okay? 1,000 dozen eggs. Okay? Everything was tremendous. You got to remember where the place was. It was in the heart of New York, 55th Street and 7th Avenue. It was the theater district. They had to keep it nice there. We never had a problem. You know, I used to get a lot of hookers used to come in too, but high-class hookers, girls that were getting $1,000 a week, they were terrific. They were terrific customers because they always had a lot of cash, and they used to give the waiters nice things. But there was never a problem. Never a problem. I mean, a couple of times I was propositioned. You know, I said, it's all right. You know, well, 3 girls came in late at night, nice-looking girls, and they ate, and they said, Mister, I don't have any money. Could we work something out? I said, I'm a married man. I don't shit where I eat. I said, it's on me. Take care of it. You know, I don't do that kind of stuff. You know, one time, it was around Christmas time, and we were so busy because of the catering, right? And I had to come home in over a week. My wife thought I had a girlfriend, to tell you the truth. She came and showed up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And 1 o'clock in the morning, she showed up. I said, Renee, what are you doing here? And then she seen I was working. And it came 4 o'clock in the morning when I used to close. I used to set off these bombs, spray out, you know, to spray out the food, you know, and everything.
Yep.
I said, Renee, go wait outside on the corner, and because I'm going to fog up the whole place here. So wait on the corner of 55th Street. And the hooker comes by and she says to my wife, she says, are you working this corner, honey? I went outside and I says, you know, that's my wife. She says, oh, I'm sorry, Murray. I didn't know that. You know, so I said, don't feel bad, Renee. If you weren't good looking, you couldn't be a hooker.
That's right.
Because these were high-class girls. Yeah, but I had a very, very good time there. Very good. I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to have to wrap it up, but I'm going to tell you something. It's been a blast. You know, when I first met you, I have to admit to myself and to you, Murray, I have to say to you, I was thinking of this show almost immediately. When you started to tell me some of your stories, I said to myself,
I got so many more stories.
This guy would be perfect to come on the show. I'm going to actually ask him. I was so happy. I was so happy when you said, yes, I will come on your show.
Of course.
I couldn't believe it. And then when I called you the next day, I said, this guy's going to tell me, nah, I thought it over. I don't feel like it. I don't want to come on your show. I was so nervous. And then you said you were going to come on the show. I said, this is going to be great.
Hey, what's on my lung is on my tongue, okay? When I give my word, my word is my binding, okay? I don't get back out of something when I give my word. That's how it
Very
is.
Good.
And there's so many other stories I could tell you about the Carnegie over 35 years.
Well, I'll tell you what. You're coming back. I will stay in touch with you, and you will come back for a second, third, or fourth time, whatever, and you can tell all the stories you want. And I'm sure Ralph Typo and Ron Rabinovitz, my cohorts here, feel the same way.
I enjoyed this so much, I'll tell you. I really enjoyed this a lot.
Oh, wow.
You know something?
I'm happy that I met you. I'm happy that I met you.
Good, Murray, because it's like home here, and you're fitting right in.
That's right. And you know where I live over here. We're here 45 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
With my wife.
Okay.
You know, my wife was from Paris, France. I met her coming over. She came over here in 47 after the Second World War. I met her at a dance. She was engaged at the time. And I told her to get rid of the guy. We got engaged 6 days later, and we got married the following week. And that's a true story. And that was 56 years ago.
And how many years have you been married?
I'm married 56 years.
Wonderful. Mazel tov. That's great.
Terrific.
You know, and I'm 81 now, but you know something? It's a number. It's how you feel.
That's right.
It's how you feel. I don't feel my age. Sometimes I don't even feel like a senior citizen. I really don't, because I can do everything I want to do. And knock wood, I'm very lucky. My mother was well over 100 before she died, and she was never sick a day in her life, never in the hospital even.
Great. Wow.
And there were 6 children. They all lived into their hundreds, every one of them. The unlucky, it's genes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's great. So you can come back a lot of times. If you're going to live another 25 years, you got to come back another.
Hopefully. Right.
Hey, that means we've got to live another 25 years.
Right.
So,
Right.
Well, I tell you what. One of us.
Know,
wait a minute, Ralph. That's a good point. One of us might make it. So Ronnie and you and me, and maybe one of us will still be around, and we can still have Murray Trachtenberg back on the show.
We're all 3 going to be there.
Right.
Okay.
We're all 3 going to be there for you, Murray.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now listen, I got to wrap it up. It up.
It was really great talking to you guys.
Thank you, Murray Trachtenberg, and thank you, my partners, Ralph Typo and Ron Rabinovitz.
Okay, Mr. Elephant Trunk, all right.
Yes, that's it. Good night, gentlemen, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Right.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye.